Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Center podcast. I'm Emiliya Zhivotovskaya, your host and founder of the Flourishing Center. We are training the change agents of the world and equipping them with research-based tools for healthy, happy, and successful living. And we're so grateful that you're here.
Welcome to Coach's Corner, where you get to hear positive psychology in action through real-life coaching sessions with Emiliya Zhivotovskaya. She's the CEO and founder of the Flourishing Center and holds an MCC Master Certified Coach credential with the International Coaching Federation, the ICF. Coaching helps people get from where they are to where they would like to be. Listening to real-life sessions with real people helps us learn and grow together to lead happier, healthier, and more flourishing lives. We hope you enjoy listening to the transformative journeys of those that can help you in creating powerful and positive change in your life.
Thanks for listening, and let's dive in. Hey there, and welcome back to Coach's Corner. This particular type of episode, we do a live coaching session right here in real time. And I feel so honored that I get to bring these sessions to you. And we've been getting such beautiful feedback from our listeners that are so touched by people's willingness to be vulnerable, people's willingness to be human and share what they're working through. And one of the great things about working with a coach is that life coaches help people get from where they are to where they want to be. And sometimes that's neat and tidy in a coaching session, meaning a client comes and they're super clear and they know what they want to work on, and we just dive right in. And sometimes clients come in and there's just stuff and they're just so in it. I'm excited to share this coaching session of Nicole with you and have you witness her going through a patient, a gentle process. And this reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from one of my coaches, Charlie Gilkey from Productive Flourishing. And he has a great statement, which is, it's hard to read the label when you're stuck inside the jar. And it's hard to read the label when you're stuck inside the jar could almost be like the motto for coaching, because when somebody comes to the coaching session, they're sometimes in the jar. And I think you'll see that for Nicole, that there was so much that she was just swimming in, that her mind was in. And the beauty of the coaching dynamic is you have somebody who's not in the jar, but someone who's willing to get in there with you and willing to get out of it with you and help you maybe read what you might not be reading on the label, or help you just get on the outside and look in so that you can read it yourself. So I hope you enjoy this session. I know that I felt incredibly grateful to be able to guide Nicole through this journey and to be a part of it with her, witnessing her shifts and how she grew through the session. So let's dive in. Hello, Nicole. It's so good to connect with you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.
So what would you like to be coached on?
I would love to just dive a little deeper into relationship history, some recent experiences that I have had, just kind of talk through that.
Great. So what are some of the things that have been coming up for you?
So I would say a little bit about my relationship history. I was in a 2-year relationship, which ended 2 or 3 years ago. 2 years ago. How soon we forget. And then, so after that, I think that's when when that relationship ended, I started to just really get curious about why it ended, maybe why it wasn't the right partner for me. And then also just trying to figure out what I was needing out of a relationship. And that's when I started learning a little bit more about attachment styles and how that could be impacting just people that I'm choosing and, things that just relationship dynamics. And then since then, I have noticed patterns within dating. And I would say finally this past fall, after dating someone who definitely was able to fulfill more of my needs, but at the same time was still not the right person for me. I was finally able to sort of stand in my worth a little bit more and kind of take my power back and be able to set boundaries and communicate, things that I was needing or that was not working for me. And then I was able to, after that, it was pretty empowering, and I was able to sort of see more clearly patterns that I was, recreating. And then most recently, I was seeing someone, and it was literally everything I was looking for. And then that recently sort of ended. So maybe just kind of understanding just my history and then maybe breaking down this most recent situation a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I'm going to celebrate that you've been using your experiences to get greater clarity, to come to a state of better understanding for yourself. And I hear you saying that you would like to reflect on what's recently come up for you and get greater understanding there. And I'm curious, if we were to achieve that, what would that do for you?
I think just now at this point, knowledge is power, and just it would help me just be able to filter through people moving forward. And also, this current situation, it's unclear if it's actually ended or not. It's kind of been put on pause. But I think even with this most recent situation, now that I've taken a step back from it, I can see maybe where there were some small red flags that I didn't see when I was in the situation. And I think just trying to understand them a little bit more, or even understanding if they were red flags or not.
Mm-hmm. So I hear that there isn't much clarity for you right now, that there's the, firstly is what's the status of the current relationship, and then as you think about some of the things that came up for you, it almost sounds like you're trying to figure out, like, was this healthy, was this not, was this something that I could have noticed earlier, was it not? Does that kind of summarize it?
Sort of. I definitely noticed things and addressed them. And the current situation is my doing. It would probably be more helpful if I just explained the whole situation. But yeah, I think there's definitely I would definitely like a little bit more clarity just on understanding kind of what happened, or maybe yeah, I think just better understanding potentially things that I might have missed.
Mm-hmm. And again, if you did understand things that you might have missed, what might that do for you?
I think it would just help the healing process and also help me, if it's a matter of moving on, it could help. I think it would help me move on if I had a little bit more, just clarification about things, or even it could help me better understand that, something that I'm needing in a future relationship, or maybe just realizing that this is something that doesn't work for me, or maybe I could have communicated something in a different way or addressed something differently. I think just breaking things down a little bit more so that I can learn and grow from the experience.
Mm-hmm. So I hear what's most important for you is, one, facilitate a little bit of healing around this past relationship, and then help you break down the experience so that it can help you in the future, help you integrate what you've learned out of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Beautiful. So where would you like to begin in digesting and processing what happened?
I guess I could explain the relationship from the beginning and kind of summarize where we are now.
Okay.
So I met someone back in the beginning of March. And going into this experience, I was very clear on what I was looking for. Had a pretty thorough list in terms of qualities and character strengths. And we started dating, and he really fully matched my list. And in the past, with past relationships, I have sort of entered into experiences where they kind of started off a little bit more chaotic, and there's this infatuation with someone, and there's a little bit of a chase involved. And I've been learning that is something that I don't want to become attached to anymore. So after our first date, it was interesting because I sort of just felt very neutral about it. I knew I liked him. I was kind of indifferent if he asked me out again or not. I mean, I wanted to go out with him, but I wasn't sitting waiting by the phone. But if I was a great person, we had a good connection for our first date. And then next day he had called me on the phone, which was nice. And we actually ended up talking for 2 hours. And then I started to like him even more. And then from there, we continued seeing each other and had some really, really great dates. Again, that connection continued to build. And there was just a lot of ease between us. We would communicate every day, talk on the phone every day, anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And I also felt really comfortable communicating with him what my needs were early on in a dating relationship. It was partially long distance. He had an apartment outside of New York and in New York. And something for me in those situations is that I always like to know when I'm going to see the person again. So I just felt really comfortable communicating and, talking through those things so that, I was able to kind of, not allow myself to get triggered if I knew I could avoid that with communication. And then, I mean, it was going really, really well. We were definitely, we great bond with each other. Definitely a lot of feelings, a lot of chemistry. He also was a very, very communicative person. I would say the first thing that I noticed a little early on was that he would reference his ex-girlfriend quite often. And when he would talk about her, I could tell he was sort of very much reminiscing, and there was a lot of nostalgia attached to his story. And so I think immediately I sort of sensed that was not something that he had kind of grieved. And I did later find out that she had actually gotten engaged while we were seeing one another. And throughout the relationship, he would often bring up stories about her, and the details seemed unnecessary. They were just details that I think aren't healthy for two people who are trying to grow a bond. So I did have a conversation with him about that and explained my feelings about it, and that I felt like I was then starting to compare myself to this person who I didn't know, and it felt like there was another woman between us. And so he respected that, but I think at the same time, I still felt like he was very much holding on to something. And I did express that once, and he sort of agreed that he wasn't really over that. And it kind of sounds like, even though they had broken up 2 years prior, that he almost had been hoping that her relationship would have ended at some point and she would have come back to him. So that was the first thing I noticed. And then about 6 weeks ago was when we had the first conversation about our relationship and what we were. And he expressed that he felt like I was everything that he was looking for, and we had a great connection and all this stuff, but that there was this feeling that he felt like he was supposed to have or was wanting. And he described it as this spark or this rush through his body where he just knew that I was the person he was supposed to be with. And he didn't have that feeling. And he expressed that he talked to other people about it, and that they told him that was healthy, and that, to keep letting it build and grow, and that feeling wasn't something that he necessarily should be chasing. So that was like the second thing. And I will say when I heard that, I think I put up a little bit of a wall. It made me a little insecure. And I could tell, especially looking back on it, that from that point on, I think it was hard for me to truly and fully be myself. And then from there, we kept dating and seeing each other. And I did start to notice, or I felt, I think, in my gut that he was pulling back a little bit. Just something seemed a little bit off. And about a week and a half ago, I was with him, and we were having a great time. And he said he wanted to talk about the relationship again. And it was a very similar conversation. But he expressed like more feelings. He said, he had so much adoration for me and like, love. And he thought I was an amazing person and beautiful and smart and made a great connection and all of these things. And he, loved our time together, and it was, easy and whatnot, but that he still felt like he needed to have this feeling, this spark, this rush. And now he was scared because he felt that it wasn't going to feel it, and that if we continued getting closer and spending more time together, that he could potentially end up hurting me because he's looking for this feeling. And then he questioned himself, kind of saying, I don't know if I just sort of enjoy being in pain, or if I need to see a therapist, or if I'm, being self-destructive. But, this is how I feel. And so I took some time the next day to just absorb it. And my initial reaction was that I felt deserving of being with someone who knows that they want to be with me and is able to fully appreciate the bond that we have, and that they want to put the time and attention into the relationship and allow it to build and grow. And I think that this feeling that he kept talking about is something that I've done a lot of work on myself. And it was concerning to me because I've learned that is a feeling, that is just based off of infatuation. And in my own experiences, I've learned that flame burns out really fast. And I've actually been trying not to chase that feeling. So when we caught up the next day, we talked, and it was hard because we do have such a connection, and he was so affectionate and all of this stuff. And we ended up talking, and I, kind of expressed back to him like what I heard him say the night before, and I explained my own experiences with this feeling. And I just kind of said that I felt like my hands were tied, and that I couldn't pressure him into wanting to be with me. And I fully expressed that what I wanted, which was to keep dating him and seeing where this could go. And I thought that what we had was really good. And my suggestion was that we stop seeing each other, completely disconnect from all social media outlets for the month of June, date other people. And at the end of June, should he feel differently, then he could contact me, but only if his feelings change, not if he was just wanting to catch up. So that is where things have left off.
Wow. So I just want to take a moment to honor your heart in all of this. Thank you so much for sharing. And I can hear how confusing it could feel. And also, I think the word that comes up for me is how patient your heart has been in all of this, sort of witnessing it and allowing it to unfold and being curious. And I celebrate your ability to sit with your own emotions that must have been stirred up, whether it be with him talking about his ex, or with him being able to have those type of really honest conversations. We would call them those like mature conversations of being able to sit with a person and just be really honest. And it's not easy. It can be really painful to hear, but I celebrate you being able to come from a place of, I'd rather hear the truth than not. And so even if it stings, I want to know. And I celebrate your decision to honor your own sense of self and your own boundaries, and the commitment that you two have made to one another to take this month to figure things out. And I'm curious, what do you feel that you need given all of this?
I'm trying to figure that out. It's interesting, I think, because for the first time ever, I I feel like I fully just respected myself. And I can't say that I've really done this in past situations before. I think in past situations, I've had moments of weakness and I've reached out to the person, or I've gone back and looked at pictures or read through our text message threads. And I've been really good with this. I felt proud of myself, and I don't feel insecure in any way, and I feel just really deserving of what I know I'm looking for. And so I think that one, I think right now is that, I try not to spend each day wondering if he's going to come back at the end of June, but I do want to kind of think about if he does, it would obviously depend on what capacity he did, but how do I know that, if he did come back and say that he made a mistake or wanted to continue seeing each other or whatnot? I think just wrapping my head around if I'm able to step back into something like that and be able to fully be vulnerable in that situation again. And I think when I think back on everything, I can see where I feel he entered into a relationship without being fully over someone else. And part of me feels like that's part of the reason why he almost isn't able to feel everything he wants to feel. And then I kind of want to wrap my head around this feeling that he's chasing, because, I've asked him to clarify it, and it seems that we're talking about the same feeling. And I guess just understanding why somebody might be chasing that. But in terms of needs, I think just really just kind of trying to understand everything. And, I want to make sure that I don't take it as like a form of rejection per se, like there's something wrong with you, which I haven't had that self-talk. But, I think just making sure that I'm just absorbing everything properly.
Well, I love that. I just want to take a moment to honor some of the profound things you just said there. So I hear you saying that you want to feel that you're processing this in a healthy way. So I celebrate that you are able to reflect on this from such a healthy place. And I hear you going through a couple of different things. Earlier, you also just mentioned how you're doing your best to navigate the thoughts of, well, firstly, trying to just be present and not get too caught up in the past. But I also hear you starting to get caught up in the future, meaning thinking through, well, what might it be like if he comes back, and what might it be like if he doesn't come back, which is so human, right? That's what our brain wants to do. It kind of thinks if it can play mental chess, it'll get control of the situation, or it'll kind of brace yourself for something bad. So it's so human for our brain to go, well, if he goes here, then I'll say this and I'll do that. But if he goes here, then I'll say this and I'll say that. And I hear that that's kind of one of the things that your brain is doing while also trying to stay mindful and present of what your experience is. And then there's this third piece, which honor how human it is that we want to be able to understand, like, what does he mean by this feeling that he wants to get out of your connection. And of course, this is all difficult because we can't predict the future. We don't know what he's going to come back with. And if he comes back, right? And we can't read his mind, and we don't know what he's thinking, feeling, needing, wanting. So I just want to honor how difficult this particular position is. And I hear you almost like wanting to say to yourself, I'm handling it like a champ. And I want to say to you, I think you're handling it like a champ, right? Because it's not easy. So when I ask you this question of what do you need right now, what comes up for you?
My gosh. I mean, well, something very unrealistic. I would love to know that whoever it is I'm supposed to be with will come into my life at some point, whether it be him or someone else. But we don't have the answer to that. I think at this point, I just want to really, now that I'm not in the situation and I'm able to see things, sort of from a different point of view, because it's just so crazy how much harder it is to really see everything and understand your feelings when you're really invested in it. And now that I've had a little bit of space and can think back on situations, I guess, one, just understanding, like, did I know I made the right decision in terms of what I did, the other week, but were there red flags that I missed earlier on? Or I think now also just understanding really what are my needs, and what I feel my needs are now, in terms of a relationship, is something I learned from that situation, is that I really, would want to be with somebody who has healed from past relationships. Because that was hard to feel that and hear that come up a lot. I don't know. I'm having a hard time identifying what my needs are.
So I hear you saying that while you did learn from this experience what you do want more of, you want to make sure in the future that the person that you're with has healed, given the pain that you went through. And, our wounds make us stronger. And so again, I celebrate how you witness that and you receive that. And I get this image again of like you going to like past, future, present. And so there's this questioning of yourself of the past, which I think I hear you saying is, could I have caught this sooner, or should I have put up this boundary sooner, or could something have been done differently further in the past? So there's this element of replaying the past. There's this desire for the future. If only I can have a guarantee, which, as you pointed out, we can say, well, we can't read into the future. The best we can do is have a healthy optimism that you will have the person that you're seeking in your future. And then in this present moment, kind of asking yourself, well, what do I want to do with myself in relationship right now? What do I need right now for myself? And kind of makes sense why it would be harder for you to navigate now if your mind keeps going past, future, past, future, past, future.
Interesting too, this past weekend, right after this happened, I had a flood of random people ask me out. It was very random. We connected with someone from high school. He asked me out. Ran into someone in my neighborhood. He asked me out. Friend tried to set me up with someone. He asked me out. And at first I went and said yes to all these things because I thought, I guess I should just experience all these different things. The universe is sending this to me for some reason. But then I went back and I was like, wait a minute, I'm not really interested in any of these people. And I already know that that they don't match what I'm looking for. I really wasn't trying to judge them. I just knew certain things about them that they just didn't match what I'm looking for in someone. And so I ended up canceling all of the dates. And then I realized that I really just needed time on my own, like with myself, and just focusing on self-care. So maybe that is what I need right now. And I love being outside, and it was, we've had such beautiful weather. And so I've been trying to be outside and be active and eat well and try to rest and be with friends. And so that's what I've been doing. And that's been really helpful. Cause I did notice that I feel badly. Some of these days I canceled a little last minute because I started to feel almost an anxiety building where I was like, oh, why am I wasting a night to go out with this person who I know I'm not interested in? So that was interesting to feel.
Yeah. I just want to celebrate you there again. The power of being able to know the difference and to just be able to witness what would have, could easily be just stroking your ego to say, oh, here's this, here's an opportunity to go on a date or get this kind of attention from someone and give my attention to someone, and to recognize what you were really wanting or needing instead, which was to give the attention to yourself. And I so celebrate that. And so I hear you saying that what you want to focus on in the now and what you need is more self-care.
That would actually definitely be it.
Awesome. So what would that look like?
Spending more time with friends, family, not drinking alcohol. I think, which is interesting, I haven't even desired a glass of wine, but I just know from in the past that it just, for me personally, it's easy for me to then start reminiscing and get sad, and then it impacts my sleep, and then I'm more sad, and I don't want to put myself through that. So just really focusing on doing all the things that make me feel good. Being outside, staying active, spending time with friends and family, eating healthy. I would love to book a trip soon, something to look forward to.
Those sound wonderful, and I celebrate the vitality and the energy behind your voice when you talk about that, and the ability to also know the patterns in the past and say, I see that I have this as an option, and I don't want to go down that route. I want to choose to feel my feelings and to digest instead of numbing. I so celebrate that with you.
I do have one numbing mechanism, shopping.
You're like, everyone's got to keep at least one numbing mechanism in their arsenal. How could you go with
get rid of
none?
All of them.
So when we started this conversation, you said that you wanted to get clarity on what you had experienced and use that to think through what do you want to take from the experience and how you want to move forward. And I'm curious, where are you at with that now?
Yeah, I think that, like I had said before, this is really the first time that I've ever experienced what I'm experiencing in terms of, one, fully being able to set a boundary and actually honoring it. Two, recognizing right away that I deserved more in that moment, and that it wasn't, that in that moment space is what was needed. And just not being scared to go down that path, and not being in fear of, losing the person and being able to take that risk. And so I think for now, just being able to have an open mind about, I guess I'm going into this future thing again, but an open mind about the future, and, having a better understanding of what it is that I'm looking for and needing, and just being open and available to new people and situations and experiences, and just, I guess, learning from past lessons.
Mm. Wow. Well, I so much celebrate that with you. And again, I can feel the ease with which you say those things, that there's an acceptance and a sadness, right? There's still the hardship of it. And it sounds like you're allowing yourself to just move through it in a tender pace. There's a lot of the word tender is coming up, right? It's like how you feel when you've like tenderized a piece of meat, right? It's like it's there, it's tender, and you're so present with it. And that sounds like sometimes it's the best that we can do.
Yeah, and I think right now too is kind of what you were saying before, is not going to that place where I'm trying to figure out, well, what did he mean by that? Or what is he thinking? Or what is he going to do? Because I have no idea, nor am I really interested in getting inside of his head. Um,
Hmm. And so what will you do in those moments when your brain does go down that pathway?
I try to just talk back to it and say exactly that I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking. I have no way to know. And it's better off that I don't right now. And I don't want to create stories around it. And so I try to focus on something else.
That sounds wonderful. Does that feel like a solid plan for you of what to do when your brain goes down that pathway to redirect yourself?
I mean, it's been helping the past 10 days, but I'm open to other suggestions because I'm sure it will keep happening.
Yeah. I mean, 10 days is a solid amount of time to be in such control of that. So I celebrate your ability to catch it. Obviously, there's other little brain tricks and stuff from positive psychology that we know. Like I find for myself, I try to thank my brain. Sometimes they call it our inner elephant or emotional brain, because there's this metaphor of the elephant and the rider, where like the elephant is your animal brain, it's your emotional brain, it's your limbic system brain. And it's hard when you have this like song that's like a loop, right? It's like not finished. So your brain wants to try to finish the story. And that's one of the things our unconscious mind will do. It'll keep sort of playing it because it's not complete and it doesn't have closure. And so, and the rational part of the brain goes, okay, well, eventually, I'll get an answer to this, and I can be patient, and I can self-care, and I can focus on myself. And then the emotional brain, when it's distracted, when you're in the shower, when you're going for a walk, will start ruminating about it. And so I know that for myself, one of the things I say to my brain, sometimes I'll be really, really strict with my brain. I'll be like, brain, if you can't say anything nice, then don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I just say, thank you, brain. This isn't helpful right now. And then I try to bring myself into the present moment. So I try my best to just notice and name what I'm seeing around me. And so if I'm out for a walk and my brain's going there, I'm just going to start being like trees, water, person, dog, railway, whatever it is that I see around me, as a way of just redirecting my brain to the present moment. And I know that technique has helped me quite a bit and has helped many of my clients in those moments where your brain just wants to do brainy things, and those brainy things aren't useful in the moment because he's not there. You can't say it to him, and they're not going to speed up the clock. Like, June is a wonderful month. You don't want to speed through June just to get to July. There's
Definitely
a lot of good stuff to happen.
Yeah. If it were January, different story. February.
Exactly. Sorry, brain. It's not January. You can't do that.
Yeah. I am thankful that it is summer and that the weather has been really nice. So definitely been grateful for that, I will say.
So when we first started off this conversation, I know that you said you wanted to get clarity. What are you taking from our time together?
I think it's been really helpful to, one, hear and understand just why the brain kicks in and wants to finish the story. I liked how you said that, because it isn't complete, and I don't have closure, and I don't know everything, or I like I liked hearing that, and then just tips on how to pull yourself back to the present moment and kind of speak back to it. And I just like having that. I think it's really useful information. I think that's helpful in terms of clarity, in the sense that I can't finish the story because he isn't here, and I don't know what he's thinking or feeling, or even, if his feelings have changed or what's going on in his head. So I think that what I'm feeling now is that the clarity sort of just has to come from within, and just feeling at ease with myself, and just respecting myself and what I feel I'm deserving of, and just trying to heal through this and tend to my current needs. And I feel like maybe that is what will give me that clarity. Whereas before, coming into it, I felt like I needed to dissect everything that he said, and I needed to understand, what is this feeling? What does this mean? Why is he looking for this? And it was making it very much about him, where now I feel like I'm kind of just want to put it back on myself and just take almost that power back and turn it into my own healing process, and, getting clarity from within instead of needing to get it from him.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Does this feel complete for you then as a coaching session?
Yeah, no, it feels great. Very thorough.
Well, I'm wishing you so much self-love at this time, and I celebrate and hold a vision for you, having all the love that you want and need, and finding that peace, and looking at this beautiful opportunity you're given to strengthen the ability to be in the present moment right now. It's not always the way that we want those lessons to come about, but I celebrate that you're able to get there. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was really, really helpful.
This episode is brought to you by the Positive Education Certification Program. We're calling all school teachers, grades K through 12, to learn how to teach skills for happiness, resilience, and academic tenacity to children. Empowered teachers build thriving students. Learn more about our comprehensive model at positiveeducator.org.
Thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. I want to encourage you to tell us, what would you love to hear more about? Is there an area of positive psychology you would love to get some more information on in terms of the research? Give us a shout out at info@theflourishingcenter.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you a wonderful, flourishing day.